A floating mass of eyes and gnarled teeth stalk the underground cave it resides in. Its unwilling minions work to the death for their master, making sure any and every possible assassination attempt is prepared for and easily thwarted under the orders of its monstrous master. Welcome to How to Fight and Kill Anything in D&D. The Beholder is a creature with an insane intellect. Its brain processes are akin to what some would call a supercomputer, able to calculate any possibility regardless of its plausibility. To call it a paranoid creature would be an understatement. The Beholder acts as a master-level chess player against the entire world, matching seemingly unrelated things into huge, massive explanations as to how they are connected. Some new settlers moving in nearby that just so happened to be on the night of the full moon could be a coincidence to most, but to a Beholder, they are obviously werewolves sent by a rival to try and snuff him out. And to prepare, he will have his minions bore deep into the earth to locate silver to combat the werewolves when they finally strike. This immense intellect is not without its benefits. A Beholder's greatest power is found with his ability to shape reality by simply existing. When a Beholder rests, its main eye shuts while its tendrils of eye stalks survey, looking for attackers. The brain is still very much active, and when a Beholder dreams, the reality around it changes. When a Beholder dreams of a self-perceived death, for example, it will turn into a death tyrant, as it will turn undead, yet its fear of death is still very much there and real, having it lash out at whatever might try to assassinate it or even come close. A Beholder who dreams of another Beholder is an immense problem. Most of the time, when a Beholder dreams of another Beholder, a second Beholder spawns as the exact replica of the original Beholder's dreams or fears. The two of them will then fight to the death, as Beholders are extremely territorial, but rarely they turn into hive Beholders. When a Beholder dreams of seeing himself, a small miniature Beholders form out of nothing and are an exact replica of the original, albeit about half the size. Because this Beholder looks so much like the original will not immediately destroy it with extreme prejudice. It will simply let it exist as a minion of its own, and then eventually more and more Beholders rise from the original and thus create an army of mini Beholders, all of which have their own dreams and fears. It's in my opinion that those are the most terrifying, because not only do you have all the minions of a Beholder, but you also have at least a dozen mini ones as well. One of the last of the main Beholders, I say with quotation marks, is because there's an infinite amount of them, is the Tyrant Beholder. The Tyrant Beholder is a Beholder who set aside its immediate and burning hatred for anything not itself and becomes a leader of a community of different creatures. It still has all of its prejudices and lack of respect for the lesser creatures, but it can at least see the use in a bunch of expendable meat sacks. An example of this is Xanthar. He is a Beholder who runs Xanthar's guild. He runs an incredibly powerful guild and crime ring, even though he's a Beholder. He also has a pet goldfish named Silgar, who he loves so much that the guild has to replace the fish every couple of years when it dies, so Xanthar doesn't immediately kill the entire guild out of a fit of rage. Beholders are incredibly scary, down to a point where even the most skilled and dedicated adventurers think twice before taking on a bounty of a Beholder. But there is a way to fight him. A Beholder sees every possible outcome and plans accordingly, so barging in is not going to do so much more than activate its near endless traps and send its near endless hordes of guards after you. It's with that stealth is your best bet. Deactivating the traps and stealth killing anyone who stands in your way is the best way to get in. Beholder strongholds are mazes of different rooms, all filled with various things from living spaces to treasure. When the party reaches the main chamber, it won't be too surprising to see the Beholder resting high above on a sheer underground walk wall in the complete dark, guarded by over a dozen guards, all given the best gifts the Beholder could find. Given the Beholder's natural ability to fly and see 120 feet in the dark, a big cave underground super high in the air is the best place for it to call home. From there is up to the party, because there is an almost 0% chance of getting up there without alerting the Beholder, and that's when it'll get crazy. The Beholder's eye stalks aren't for show. They're for shooting various rays and attacks, such as a literal death ray and disintegration ray, to small things like sleep rays and charm rays. It can attack 3 times a round as an immensely tough enemy with a super crazy high AC, depending on how your DM wants to play it as. But my advice on dealing with it is packing a ton of explosives and having your spellcasters be able to use weapons other than magic, as a Beholder's main eye radiates a cone of anti-magic that dispel any magic and buffs within 120 feet and gets wider the farther it goes out. So a few tanks should charge it and have the Beholder focused on them, while the spellcasters, if possible, will get behind it and try to attack it, but have swords or maces just in case they get caught and they're in the anti-magic cone. If you're lucky enough to survive, your party will have some of the best loot any monster can muster, with the exception of gold dragons. This loot is divided into 5 categories. Tools. Things that the beholder can use, such as magic necklaces and magic rings it places on his eye stalks, or wands that it uses an eye stalk to use. Gifts. Things that the beholders can't use but gives its minions, like magical armor and swords. Hazards are usually cursed items that the beholder possesses simply because it's magical and it wants it to use against prisoners as a form of torture. Trophies are a beholder's prized possessions, such as a perfectly preserved corpse of a rival beholder or Xanthar Silgar. And finally, clutter. Clutter is where all the gold and gems are classified as due to the lack of intrinsic value to the beholder and its charmed minions. Beholders are a danger to anyone and everyone, and deserve nothing more than a sword through the main eye and to be set on holy fire to rid the world of its horrendous existence. Hopefully this has helped you in your adventures, and I'll see you next time.